My name is Terrell Moore. I am 32 years old, and for a long time I believed I had my whole life mapped out. The law school graduation party was supposed to be our celebration. 4 years of me working double shifts in construction management while my wife, Jasmine, studied for the bar. 4 years of instant noodles and frozen meals instead of restaurants. Canceled weekends away instead of vacations, so we could afford her tuition without drowning in even more debt. 4 years of her promising that once she graduated, everything would change for the better and we would finally breathe. I held on to that promise like it was a contract written in stone. I walked into the hotel ballroom 20 minutes late, still in the crisp white dress shirt I had bought specifically for this occasion, the one the sales associate talked me into by saying, "Trust me, man, this looks like promotion material." The place was packed with Jasmine's classmates, professors, and a sea of proud family members. The air smelled like expensive perfume, champagne, and that strange combination of stress and relief that comes after years of grinding finally pay off. People were laughing loudly, holding tall champagne flutes, congratulating each other on surviving law school like they had just come back from a war. Jasmine stood near the center of the ballroom, radiant in a navy blue dress that hugged her curves just enough to look elegant rather than flashy. Her natural curls were pinned up in a stylish twist, and she wore the gold necklace I had given her on our 3rd anniversary. Diploma in one hand, champagne in the other, she was surrounded by a circle of colleagues and professors who seemed to be hanging on her every word. She looked like she belonged there, like she had stepped into a future that fit her perfectly. When she finally spotted me across the room, instead of the bright smile I was expecting, she got this strange, almost nervous look on her face. It flickered across her features, gone so fast that if I had blinked I might have missed it. Then she tapped her champagne glass with a fork. The clear chime cut through the noise, and the room gradually quieted as people turned toward her, curious, expectant. I figured she was going to give a thank you speech. Maybe she would talk about the long nights, the hard exams, and then acknowledge the sacrifices we had both made to get here, especially the ones that never showed up on a transcript. 4 years of 60-hour work weeks for me to cover rent, food, utilities, and the 1,000 little expenses that came with her program while she focused on her studies. I stood there smiling, shoulders relaxing for the first time that week, thinking this might actually be the moment she publicly acknowledged what we had gone through together. "Everyone," she said, her voice carrying across the room with surprising confidence, "I have a special announcement to make tonight." The crowd turned fully toward her now. A few people clapped lightly, assuming this was about a scholarship, a job placement, something impressive and neat. I took a step closer, weaving between clusters of people, getting just close enough to catch every word and see every expression. "As of today," Jasmine said, lifting her glass slightly, "I am officially divorced." The words hit the room like a physical wave. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Someone near the front dropped their glass, and it shattered on the polished floor. The band in the corner stopped in the middle of a note. I blinked, certain I had misheard her. A woman next to me whispered, "Did she just say divorced?" Her friend murmured, "From who?" And I felt every eye in that half of the ballroom starting to shift toward me. Jasmine did not pause. "And I would like you all to meet my fiancé, Corey." A tall guy in an expensive charcoal suit stepped forward from the circle around her and put his arm around her waist like he had practiced it 100 times. I recognized him immediately. Corey Taylor, her study partner. The one who had been coming over 3 nights a week for the past 3 years to work on cases and review notes, as she had always said. The one she insisted was like a brother, just a friend, someone who understands the pressure. My jaw did not drop. I did not shout. My chest just went numb, my heart trying to catch up with what my eyes were seeing. The room was dead silent now. People were looking from her to Corey to me, trying to understand the timeline, trying to work out what they had missed. A professor I recognized from a dinner last year squinted at me like he was piecing together an equation. Jasmine smiled as if none of that mattered. "We have been studying together for 3 years," she continued like she was describing the weather, "and honestly, we just clicked on every level." She rested her head lightly against Corey's shoulder for a moment, emphasizing the point. "Corey understands my ambitions and shares my vision for the future. We are both starting at prestigious law firms next month." She raised her champagne glass higher. "So here is to finally upgrading to someone who matches my ambitions. The toast hung in the air awkwardly. Maybe half the room raised their glasses, mostly out of confusion or politeness rather than enthusiasm. The other half just stared, shifting uncomfortably, eyes darting between us. A few people took a careful sip, as if they were not sure which side of the story they were about to end up on. I heard someone whisper, "Upgrade," under their breath, the word sharp with disbelief. I stood there for a moment, taking it all in. 4 years of sacrifice reduced to a punchline in her graduation speech. 3 years of believing Corey was just a study buddy while he was actually auditioning to be my replacement. My mind flipped through memories like a slideshow. Late nights alone on the couch while they studied at the kitchen table, takeout containers stacked in the sink, Jasmine saying, "You do not have to wait up, baby, go to bed, we will be a while." I remember the way Corey always shook my hand, call me man or brother, and how I shrugged off the unease because I trusted her. Jasmine was looking directly at me now, her eyes glittering, waiting for the reaction she clearly thought was coming. Tears, begging, accusations, maybe a dramatic scene that would let her play the victim and justify her narrative later. Instead, I walked straight toward her, cutting through the stillness of the crowd, one measured step at a time. The circle around her parted instinctively, giving me space without quite realizing they were doing it. "Do you have the papers with you?" I asked. My voice was calm, almost casual. If anyone had closed their eyes, they might have thought we were discussing a misplaced receipt. She blinked, thrown off. "What papers?" "The divorce papers," I said. "You said you're officially divorced. That means there's a document with my name on it. I assume you need my signature on something." A few people exchanged wide-eyed looks. Someone near the front sucked in a breath. Jasmine hesitated, then fumbled in her small clutch purse and pulled out a manila envelope. Her hands were shaking slightly as she handed it to me, the polished confidence from 30 seconds ago cracking at the edges. "My attorney drafted everything," she said quickly. "It is all standard." I thought. She stopped talking when she realized no explanation was going to make this look any better. I opened the envelope right there in front of everyone. The papers were exactly what I expected. Standard no-fault divorce. Assets divided. Her keeping most of our shared belongings, since she would be making lawyer money soon. I flipped through page after page, barely glancing at the details. It was not that they did not matter. It was that none of it mattered enough to fight over anymore. The real loss had already happened. I pulled a pen from my jacket pocket, an old habit from work, and signed every page in clean, deliberate strokes. People watched in complete silence, their heads swiveling between my face and the papers like they were watching some kind of courtroom drama and waiting for an objection that never came. Corey shifted his weight from one foot to the other, his confident posture shrinking just a little. When I was done, I slid the papers back into the envelope and handed it to Jasmine. "Congratulations on both graduations tonight," I said, my voice steady and clear enough for everyone nearby to hear. "You are finally free." For a moment, her face twisted like she could not decide whether to be offended or relieved. I turned and walked out of that ballroom without looking back. Behind me, I could hear the murmur of voices starting up again, louder now, more chaotic. Someone was asking Corey how long this had been going on. Someone else was questioning the timing of the divorce announcement. A woman near the dessert table said, "Why would she do that here?" I did not stick around to hear the answers. Whatever story they built about that night no longer included me. As I pushed through the hotel lobby doors into the cool night air, I pulled out my phone and started making calls. First to my supervisor. He answered on the second ring. "Terrell, you all right? I thought you were at that graduation party." "Yeah," I said, walking toward my car. "About that. I would like to put in for those vacation days I have been saving up." There was a pause. "All of them." "All of them," I said. "Starting tomorrow." My supervisor exhaled, the kind of sigh that carries more understanding than questions. "All right, you have earned them. Come by in the morning, and we will sign the paperwork." Next call was to a moving truck rental company on the edge of town. "Yes," I said. "I need a truck for Saturday morning." "No, just one day." "Yes, I will return it by night." The representative on the line had no idea they were helping me dismantle a life. They just confirmed a reservation number and wished me a good weekend. Jasmine had wanted an upgrade. Perfect. She was about to find out exactly what she had been taking for granted all these years. The paperwork was signed. The public announcement was made. Now came the interesting part. She would celebrate that night with her colleagues, toasting to her bright future and her ambitions. What she did not know was that some upgrades come with hidden costs she had never considered. I gave myself 3 days to disappear completely from her life. While she was probably expecting tearful phone calls, flowers, or me showing up at her door begging for another chance, I was executing the most thorough exit strategy one had ever planned. It was like organizing a construction project, except the structure I was demolishing was my marriage. Friday morning started with a call to my bank. I sat at the small kitchen table, staring at the worn wood surface that had seen so many late-night meals and quiet arguments. "Thank you for calling," the representative said. "How can we assist you today, Mr. Moore?" "I'm the primary account holder on a joint account," I said. "I would like to close it and transfer my portion of the funds to a new account in my name only." The representative confirmed my identity with a series of questions, then said, "Yes, you are the primary. You can close the account at your discretion. Do you want to open a new account today?" "Yes," I replied. "Transfer 50% of our savings to that new account. The rest stays in the joint account. Then close that joint checking account entirely." "Understood," she said. There was a brief pause as she typed. "All right, Mr. Moore, that is complete. You still have full access to your new account. The old checking account is closed." I thanked her and hung up. Turns out when you're the one with steady employment, good credit, and your name on all the paperwork, you hold more strings than you realize. Next call went to the property management company that handled our apartment. "Cortland Oaks Apartments. This is Ms. Jackson. How can I help you?" A woman answered. "Hi, Ms. Jackson," I said. "This is Terrell Moore from Unit 304. I am calling about the lease." "Yes, Mr. Moore, I have your file. Everything has always been on time with you. What can I do for you?" "I will not be renewing the lease when it expires next month," I said. "I wanted to give you notice in advance." She clicked through her system. "All right. I see the lease is in your name only. What about your wife?" I stared at the refrigerator, covered in Jasmine's motivational post-it notes and study calendars. "What about her?" I asked quietly. "She will need to contact you if she wants to apply to stay." Ms. Jackson paused, understanding more than I had said. "Understood, Mr. Moore. We will process it that way." By lunch, I had 3 more calls to make. The electric company, the cable provider, and the car insurance were all under my name and social security number. It was amazing how much of our shared life existed because I was the one with steady employment and a strong credit history. Each call was the same. Transfer my account to my new address when I provide it. Remove any secondary users. Terminate service at the current address on this date. Corey, her upgrade, was still a student with no real income and probably student loan debt stacked higher than a skyscraper. Good luck taking over utility accounts and car insurance with that profile. I did not need to sabotage anything. All I had to do was remove myself from the picture and let reality show up. The most satisfying call came when I contacted my cell phone provider. "I have a family plan under my account," I said. "I want to keep my number, but remove the other line." The representative asked, "Are you sure you want to remove this line? It will disconnect service for that user." "Yes," I said. "I am sure." She would find out when her phone stopped working, probably sometime Sunday night, while she was trying to show off engagement photos or text Corey about wedding colors. Saturday was moving day. I had rented the truck and called in favors from 2 coworkers, Nate and Darnell, brothers I trusted both on the job site and off. "Man, you sure about this?" Nate asked as we carried my grandmother's heavy oak dresser down the stairs. "I have never been more sure about anything," I said. "Just do not scratch that dresser. My grandmother would haunt all of us." They laughed, but both of them handled the furniture carefully. We loaded everything that actually mattered into the truck. My tools, my grandmother's furniture that Jasmine always said took up too much space and did not match her aesthetic, my vinyl record collection, my clothes, the framed photos of my parents and siblings that had mysteriously migrated to the back of shelves over the years. I left behind the expensive modern coffee table Jasmine picked out, the abstract artwork she insisted made the apartment look professional, the fancy dinnerware set we had registered for at our wedding because she wanted to impress her classmates. All of it stayed, not out of spite, but because I genuinely did not care about any of it. She could keep her upgrades. I was traveling light. "Where are you going?" Darnell asked as we strapped down a last box. "Denver," I said. Remember that construction company that has been trying to recruit me? They have a commercial project out there. Big one. They have been calling me for 8 months. Nate frowned. I thought you turned them down because Jasmine did not want to move. That was before my wife announced she was trading me in for a new model, I said. My tone was calm, but Nate winced anyway. You good, though? He asked quietly. Like really good? I nodded. I will be. This is my chance to upgrade my life, too. The job situation worked out better than I expected. When I called the Denver company's recruiter, she practically shouted into the phone. Terrell, please tell me you are finally ready to talk seriously. I am ready, I said. What is the best offer you can make me? We talked for nearly an hour. The salary bump was substantial. $68,000 a year to start, plus benefits, plus relocation assistance. In Denver, that money went a lot further than it did in our current city. They needed a project manager who could handle a major mixed-use development, and my experience fit exactly what they wanted. By Sunday evening, I was loading the last box into my truck. The apartment looked empty, stripped of everything that made it home for me. Jasmine's things still sat neatly arranged. The throw pillows, the decorative vases, the color-coded bookshelf of law books and case files. It felt like I had walked out of a stage set instead of a life. My phone buzzed with the first text from Jasmine's number. We need to talk, she wrote. Then her name disappeared, replaced by no service. 30 seconds later, as my plan update finally kicked in, I deleted the message without responding. Monday morning brought a new wave of messages from different numbers. Probably Corey's phone first, then borrowed phones from friends. This is ridiculous. One text read, You cannot just disappear. We are adults. We can discuss this rationally. Another said, Terrell, be reasonable. There is no need to be petty. Each message got deleted immediately. If she had something important to say, she could put it in writing through her attorney. She was graduating law school, after all. She should know how legal communication works. The drive to Denver took about 14 hours. I stopped once for gas and coffee at a station off the interstate, stretching my legs and staring at my reflection in the convenience store window. I looked tired but not broken. There was a steadiness in my eyes I had not seen in a long time. I climbed back into the truck and pushed straight through to my new life. Tuesday afternoon, I was standing in my new apartment, a modest 2-bedroom place on the outskirts of Denver. It was completely bare except for my boxes and my grandmother's rocking chair by the window. The carpet still had vacuum lines from the cleaning crew. The place was smaller than what Jasmine and I had shared, but it was entirely mine. No bar exam prep books on the table, no color-coded study schedules on the wall. My phone had been silent for 6 hours. Either Jasmine had realized her number was disconnected, or she was starting to understand that some bridges burn completely when you light them yourself. I dropped onto the rocking chair, the wood creaking softly under my weight, and let the quiet sink in. Wednesday morning started with orientation at my new job. The site supervisor, Mr. Thompson, a tall, serious man with salt and pepper hair, showed me the blueprints for the project. This is going to change this neighborhood, he said, tapping the plans. Retail on the ground floor, apartments above, office space on the other side. 18 months, start to finish. We need someone who can keep all the moving parts from crashing into each other. That is you. I traced my finger along the lines on the blueprint, already mentally planning schedules, crews, and deadlines. Real work with genuine challenges. The kind of career growth I had been putting on hold while supporting Jasmine's academic ambitions. That evening, I was unpacking my vinyl collection when curiosity got the better of me. I sat on the floor, pulled out my phone, and checked social media. Jasmine had posted nothing since graduation night. Normally, she documented everything. Coffee shop study sessions, late nights in the library, selfies with classmates. Now, her feed was silent. No photos of the after-party, no engagement ring close-ups, no celebratory captions. Corey had posted a few pictures from the graduation ceremony itself, including one of him and Jasmine in caps and gowns, arms wrapped around each other. But there were no photos from the party afterward, no mention of the dramatic announcement that split one life in two. Probably hard to get good celebration shots when your engagement speech doubles as someone else's public divorce. I turned off my phone and put on a Miles Davis record. The warm trumpet filled the apartment, bouncing off bare walls and empty space. For the first time in years, the air around me felt calm. No law school stress, no bar exam anxiety. No schedules built around someone else's deadlines. Just the steady rhythm of a new beginning. 3 days to disappear. For years of supporting someone else's dream, finished. She had wanted to upgrade to someone who matched her ambitions. What she had actually done was downgrade herself to someone who could not even keep the lights on without help. But she would figure that out soon enough without any assistance from me. 2 months into her upgraded life, the fantasy was crumbling faster than Corey's confidence on the bar exam. I found this out through a mutual friend, Toya, who called me just to check in, and then could not resist sharing the gossip. "Terrell, you are not going to believe this," she said, her voice half sympathetic, half amused. "Try me," I replied, leaning back in my chair at the job site office. "You know Corey failed the bar. Twice," she said. "He was talking like he was a genius, but he has taken that thing 3 times now. The first 2, he did not even come close." I let out a slow breath. "So all those late nights at our place did not help much, huh?" "Apparently not," Toya said. "He is working as a paralegal at some tiny firm in town, making $15 an hour and trying to study for his 3rd attempt. The big prestigious firm offers. Gone. Vanished. They do not want him." Meanwhile, Jasmine's own career was not exactly the courtroom drama she had imagined. She had landed a position at a small practice handling mostly real estate closings and minor civil disputes. $45,000 a year, barely more than I had been making in construction before the move, except now she had student loan payments of nearly $2,000 a month. The math was not just uncomfortable, it was brutal. The apartment situation had become a mess. When the lease on our old place expired, Corey's credit score could not qualify them for anything on that level. I had already told management I was leaving and the lease was only in my name. So they ended up in a cramped apartment that required 2 roommates just to make rent, sharing space with a nursing student and someone who worked at a call center. Gone were the dreams of a sophisticated legal power couple living in a downtown loft. Reality was 4 adults sharing 1 bathroom and arguing over who used the last of the dish soap. The relationship itself was falling apart even faster than their finances. According to Toya, who always seemed to know more than anyone else, Corey was having serious doubts about the whole engagement. He has been telling people Jasmine pushed him into proposing, she said, that he felt trapped when she announced it in front of everyone at the party. He did not know. I asked. He says he did not, Toya said. He told one guy at the firm that he is starting to understand why you signed those papers so quickly. Jasmine was discovering that her upgrade came with commitment issues, financial problems, and a tendency to blame other people for his failures. Their fights had become public enough that neighbors complained about loud arguments that lasted until midnight. One particularly intense argument ended with Corey storming out and not coming back for 3 days. During those 3 days, Jasmine tried calling me. 17 missed calls from numbers I did not recognize came in over a 2-day period. Probably borrowed phones since her own service had been disconnected. I let every single one go to voicemail, then deleted the voicemails without listening. If she had something important to discuss, she had my email address. Although, considering she was a lawyer now, she should probably communicate through proper legal channels anyway. Meanwhile, my life in Denver was hitting its stride. The construction project was ahead of schedule, and my supervisor started talking about permanent management opportunities. "You have a knack for this, Moore," he said one afternoon as we walked the site. "If this keeps up, I can see you overseeing more than one project at a time." Outside of work, I was building a life that had nothing to do with Jasmine. I joined a local hiking group that met every weekend, exploring trails in the mountains. I joined a recreational softball league. I started getting invited to barbecues and game nights with coworkers and neighbors. For the first time in years, my social life did not revolve around exam schedules and study groups. That was when I met Lauren. She was an architect who worked on commercial projects similar to ours, collaborating with our company on a smaller build across town. We met at a joint planning meeting. She wore a charcoal blazer, simple earrings, and had her natural curls pulled back into a low ponytail. After the meeting, she walked beside me toward the parking lot. "You are the one they stole from your old company, right?" she asked, smiling. "That is one way to put it," I said. "I prefer smartest career decision I have made so far." She laughed, the sound light but genuine. "Well, I'm glad you made it. You actually read blueprints before meetings. You would be surprised how rare that is. We started with coffee after a long planning session that ran late. Then a casual dinner the following week. Then another. Lauren had her own career, her own apartment, her own car. When we went out to dinner, she insisted on splitting the bill. When I cooked at my place, she brought wine and dessert. When she cooked to hers, I did the dishes and picked up groceries. Everything felt balanced and reciprocal, like a partnership instead of a support system. Back in my old city, Jasmine's upgraded life was collapsing. The breaking point came when Corey finally passed the bar on his third attempt, but could not land a job at any reputable firm. His multiple failures had created a reputation problem. Most places did not want someone who had struggled that much just to get licensed. He ended up at a small personal injury law firm in a strip mall next to a check cashing place, handling mostly slip and fall cases and minor car accidents. The pay was terrible. The work was mind-numbing. The prestige was non-existent. This was not the glamorous legal career either of them had pictured when she raised her glass at that hotel ballroom and toasted to upgrading. Their relationship finally imploded during month 4 when Jasmine discovered Corey was spending his lunch breaks at a sports bar instead of working, racking up credit card debt, and lying about job interviews that did not actually exist. When she confronted him, neighbors said the shouting could be heard down the hall. "You trapped me," Corey reportedly yelled. "I never wanted to get married. You made that announcement, and I could not back out without looking like the bad guy. Marrying you was the biggest mistake of my life." Jasmine screamed back that he was ungrateful, lazy, and weak. He shouted that he was starting to understand why her first husband signed those divorce papers so fast. The next day, he packed a bag and moved out. That was when Jasmine started the serious attempts to contact me. Not just phone calls now, but emails, messages through mutual friends, even reaching out to my family members asking for my new address. The desperation in her words was obvious, even secondhand. She had upgraded from a stable relationship with a reliable partner to a dysfunctional mess with someone who resented her, and now that foundation had crumbled completely. I told everyone the same thing. "I do not have an ex-wife," I said. "I do not know anyone by that name." The message got back to Jasmine quickly. The silence she received from me hit harder than any argument ever could. That was when the real campaign began. She hired a private investigator. I found out because the investigator was terrible at his job, and one of my neighbors called me. "Terrell," Mrs. Henderson from across the street said, "there is some man walking around asking questions about your work schedule and whether you live alone. He looks like trouble." I stepped outside later and saw him down the block, pretending to check his phone while I'm in my house. When I walked his way, he turned and left. If that was professional work, Jasmine was wasting her money. When that failed, she turned to technology. LinkedIn showed she had viewed my profile 47 times in 1 month. She started following several construction companies in Denver, probably hoping to find information about my projects or career moves. The phone calls resumed from different numbers, sometimes 5 or 6 attempts in a single day. I blocked each number as it came in until my blocked list looked like a phone book. The most desperate move came when she somehow tracked down Lauren's work information. One afternoon, Lauren called me from her office. "Your ex-wife called my office today," she said calmly while I sat in my truck outside a supplier's warehouse. "She did what?" I asked. "She claimed to be a former colleague of yours who needed to talk about a professional reference," Lauren said. "Then she slid into this long, emotional story about your marriage and how you two had unfinished business, and that she was hoping we could all have a mature conversation about moving forward." "What did you say?" I asked, feeling heat stirring in my chest. I told her I had never heard of her, that you do not have any unfinished business with anyone, and that if she contacted me again, I would involve human resources and possibly law enforcement, Lauren said. Then I hung up. I closed my eyes briefly. "You okay?" "I am fine," Lauren replied. "But she is not going to let this go easily. We should take this seriously." The holiday season brought a new strategy from Jasmine. She started sending cards and letters to my house, probably thinking physical mail would be harder to ignore than electronic communication. Each envelope went straight into the trash, unopened. I recognized her handwriting, the loops and flourishes, and refused to give it any space in my life. Then she tried showing up at my workplace. That was when I realized she had crossed from desperate into dangerous territory, and it was time to involve law enforcement. The workplace visit happened on a Tuesday morning in March. I was reviewing blueprints with my team in the conference room when our receptionist called my direct line. "Terrell," she said, There is a woman here claiming to be your sister. She says there is a family emergency, and she needs to speak with you immediately." My stomach nodded. "What does she look like?" I asked. The receptionist described Jasmine's height, hairstyle, and clothing down to the color of her coat. "She is very insistent," she added. "She has been sitting in the lobby, asking if you are on site or if you are at a different project." "Tell her I am out of state on a project for the next 2 weeks," I said. "Take her contact information and let her know someone will call her back." "Do you want me to actually pass along her information?" the receptionist asked carefully. "No," I replied. "Just document everything." An hour later, my supervisor stepped in my office. "Your visitor finally left," he said. "She waited in the lobby for almost 3 hours. Terrell kept asking different people if you had arrived. Security had to escort her out. She left this." He held up a thick envelope. The letter inside was 15 pages long. I read the first paragraph, which started with, "I know I made mistakes, but we need to discuss our future together," and threw the rest into the shredder. There was no future together. That ship had not only sailed, it had sunk and rusted at the bottom of the ocean. Jasmine booked a hotel room in Denver and, for what I could tell, planned to stay until she forced a conversation. For the next 5 days, she systematically stalked every aspect of my life. She found the hiking group I had joined and showed up at the trailhead on Saturday morning, asking other hikers if they knew me and claiming to be my wife who was planning a surprise reunion. One of my hiking friends, Tyrone, called me. "Terrell, there's a woman here with your photo on her phone. She keeps telling people you two are married, and she is trying to surprise you. It is uncomfortable. If she approaches you again," I said, "tell her you have never heard of me. Then call the park ranger." Sunday, she shifted tactics. She parked outside my house for hours, approaching neighbors as they came and went, showing them the same photo and asking about my schedule. "Mrs. Henderson called me again. That same woman is back. She has been sitting in her car since 7 this morning, stopping everyone who walks by and asking personal questions about you. This is not normal." I called the non-emergency police line and reported stalking behavior. The officer who responded was professional, but explained that unless she made specific threats or violated a restraining order, there was not much they could do about someone sitting on a public street. Monday escalated to workplace harassment. Jasmine called our main office 6 times, using different voices, claiming to be everything from a client emergency contact to a government inspector who needed to speak with me immediately. My supervisor finally had enough and flagged her numbers in the company directory as a security concern. Tuesday brought the most desperate move yet. Somehow, she got Lauren's home address and was waiting outside Lauren's office building when she left for lunch. "Are you Lauren Brooks?" Jasmine asked as Lauren stepped onto the sidewalk. Lauren recognized her immediately from the phone call tone and the dramatic energy. "Yes," she said carefully. "I am Terrell's wife," Jasmine blurted out. "We need to talk." He is confused. "We all need to sit down together and have a mature conversation. We belong together. You are in the way." Lauren took one step back and said, "You are violating my boundaries and harassing my partner. If you contact me again, I will call the police." Then she walked around Jasmine and went straight to her car, hand steady even if her pulse was not. That evening, I found Jasmine sitting in her rental car outside my house again. This time, I decided to end it permanently. I walked straight to her car and tapped on the window. When she rolled it down, her face lit up like she thought this was finally the moment she had been chasing. "We need to talk," she started. "No," I said, cutting her off. "You need to listen." She blinked, surprised by my tone. "You're going to drive to the airport," I said, my voice low and controlled. "Get on a plane and never contact me or anyone in my life again. You drove over 1,200 miles to stalk me, harass my girlfriend, and lie to my coworkers. You are lucky I am not having you arrested right now." "Terrell, please," she said, tears springing to her eyes. "I know I hurt you, but people change. I have changed. I have learned from my mistakes, and I want to—" "You want to what?" I interrupted. "Get back together? Start over? Have closure?" She nodded eagerly, desperate. "Yes, we were good together. I was foolish. I let ambition blind me. I thought, here is your closure," I said. "You made your choice 4 years ago in front of a room full of people. You announced your upgrade, got what you wanted, and discovered it was not what you expected. That is not my problem to solve." Her face crumpled. "But I realize now that You realize now that Corey was a disaster, I said. Your career is not what you thought it would be. Living with your parents again at 29 is not the upgrade you had in mind. So now you want to downgrade back to me. She was crying openly now, shoulders shaking. That is not fair, she whispered. Fair would have been honoring our marriage instead of publicly humiliating me at your graduation party. I replied. Fair would have been talking to me about your doubts before cheating for 3 years. Fair would have been treating me like a partner instead of a financial aid package. I pulled out my phone and held it up, thumb hovering over the keypad. I'm calling the police if you are not gone in 60 seconds. Your choice is whether you leave as someone seeking closure or as someone getting arrested for stalking. She stared at me, searching for the man who used to soften at her tears. He was gone. After a long moment, she started her car and drove away, taillights disappearing down the street. I watched until they were out of sight, then went back inside. The next morning, I filed for a restraining order. The paperwork was straightforward. I had plenty of documentation of her escalating behavior. Phone logs, emails, witness statements from neighbors and coworkers, her showing up at my job and Lauren's office. But I also did something else that would mark a permanent shift in my life. I bought an engagement ring. The restraining order was served while Jasmine was still in Denver. She had extended her hotel stay, probably thinking persistence would eventually wear me down. Instead, she got a visit from the sheriff's department and a court order requiring her to stay at least 500 feet away from me, my home, my workplace, and my girlfriend. 2 weeks later, Lauren and I hiked to the summit of Mount Evans. The air was thin, crisp, and the sky stretched out in every direction. As we stood near the edge, looking out over the mountains, I turned to her, pulled the ring from my pocket, and dropped to one knee. Lauren, I said, my voice shaking for the first time in a long time, I spent years giving everything I had to someone who saw me as a safety net. You have never treated me like that. You have treated me like a partner from day one. I want to choose you every day for the rest of my life. Will you marry me? She brought her hands to her mouth, eyes shining. Yes, she said, before I could finish the last word. Yes, Terrell. 1,000 times yes. We planned the wedding for September, a small ceremony in downtown Denver with close friends and family. Nothing elaborate. No grand stage. No speeches crafted to humiliate anyone. Just the people who had supported us and wanted to celebrate our future together. The engagement announcement ran in the weekend edition of the local newspaper, complete with our photo and a short note about our professions. Jasmine found it within hours. My phone exploded with calls from blocked and unknown numbers. 237 missed calls over the next 3 days. I did not answer a single one. The voicemail started desperate and became increasingly unhinged. Please just call me back. One said, we need to talk about this. Another pleaded, you cannot be serious about marrying someone you barely know. I have been trying to reach you for months. Why will you not give me 5 minutes? A third message hissed, she is not right for you. You know I am the one who understands you. I will do whatever it takes to prove I have changed. I saved every voicemail as evidence, but never listened to them all the way through. The first few seconds told me everything I needed to know. Nothing had changed except her circumstances. The final confrontation came on a Saturday morning in June. I was loading supplies into my truck for a home renovation project on my own house when I heard someone call my name. I turned and saw Jasmine standing on the sidewalk at the edge of my driveway, just outside the line that marked my property. She looked terrible, like she had been crying for weeks and sleeping in her car. Her hair was messy, her clothes wrinkled, her eyes red and swollen. She held a crumpled piece of paper in one hand, fingers trembling. I got the restraining order, she said, voice raw. I know I am not supposed to be here, but I needed to see you one more time. You were violating a court order by standing there, I said. You know that. I know, she replied, but I am desperate. I will go to jail if that is what it takes to make you understand how much I regret what happened. I pulled out my phone and started dialing 911. Then go to jail, I said. She flinched. Wait, please, she said, taking a small step forward but careful not to cross the invisible line. Just give me 5 minutes. After that, I will disappear forever. I promise. I lowered the phone, but did not put away. You have exactly 5 minutes, I said. After that, I call. She took a shaky breath. I made the biggest mistake of my life when I chose Corey over you, she said. I know that now. He was immature and unreliable, and everything fell apart exactly like you probably knew it would. I paused, looking at her. I did not know exactly how it would fall apart, I said. I just knew that if you could do that to me, there was something broken in you that I could not fix. So you understand why I am here, she insisted. You understand why I need you to forgive me and give us another chance. I studied her for a long moment. You think I am standing here because I am still hung up on you, I said. But I am not. I am here because you are trespassing on my property. I gestured to the house behind me. This is my house. Lauren and I bought it together last year. Her face went white. Bought it, she repeated. You are living together. We are getting married in 3 months, I said. You saw the announcement. The words hit her like a physical blow. She actually staggered backward, her shoulders folding inward. But the engagement was just announced, she said. You barely know her. How can you be sure? I have known her for 3 years, I said evenly. We have been together longer than your entire relationship with Corey lasted. She covered her face with her hands, sobbing. This is not how it was supposed to go, she cried. This is not how our story was supposed to end. How was it supposed to go? I asked. You show up, apologize for publicly humiliating me and cheating for 3 years, and I gratefully take you back? Pretend none of it happened. We had history, she said weakly. We had plans. We talked about children, about houses, about growing old together. You had plans, I corrected. I had illusions. I thought our marriage meant something to you. It took your graduation party to show me I was just a bridge you planned to burn once you reached the other side. I reached into my truck and pulled out an envelope I had prepared weeks earlier. This is for you, I said, handing it to her. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a wedding invitation with both my name and Lauren's printed in elegant script along with the date and venue information. The paper trembled as she held it. I want you to understand something, I said. I'm not just moving on from you. I moved on completely years ago. The life I am building has nothing to do with the life we had together. She stared at the invitation like it might disappear if she blinked. Does Lauren know about all of this? She whispered. Lauren knows everything, I said. She knows about our marriage, our divorce, and your recent attempts to contact me. She is not threatened by you because she understands something you never did. Jasmine's voice was barely audible. What is that? That when someone chooses you every day, instead of keeping you around until something better comes along, it creates a completely different kind of relationship, I said. Lauren chose me from the beginning. Not as a backup plan, not as a safety net, not as a wallet. Jasmine crumpled the invitation in her fist. I chose you, she insisted. I married you. You kept me. I replied. There's a difference. You kept me around to pay for law school and provide stability while you figured out what you actually wanted. The minute you thought you found something better, you discarded me in the most public way possible. I pulled out a second envelope. This is an extension of the restraining order, I said. Any further contact from you, direct or indirect, becomes a felony. That includes showing up here, calling my work, contacting my family, or approaching Lauren in any way. Tears streamed down her face. Will you ever forgive me? She asked. I forgave you 3 years ago, I said. That is how I was able to move on. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. It means I'm not carrying your mistakes around with me anymore. I got into my truck and rolled down the window. She stood there on the sidewalk, clutching the crumpled invitation. You wanted to upgrade 4 years ago, I said. You succeeded completely. You upgraded me right out of your life permanently. Now I have upgraded, too, into a life where I am chosen from day one, not kept as a backup option. I started the engine and drove away, leaving her standing there with nothing but a crumpled piece of paper and the realization that this door was closed forever. No dramatic music, no second chance, just the quiet finality of a decision that had been made years earlier. 6 months later, Lauren and I were married in a small ceremony in downtown Denver, surrounded by people who had watched me rebuild my life piece by piece. During my vows, I promised to choose her every single day, not just when it was convenient or when I needed someone to fall back on. She promised the same in return, her voice steady and sure. Sometimes the best revenge is not getting even. It is building something so much better than what you lost that you cannot imagine why you ever thought the original was worth keeping. Jasmine wanted a fresh start with no dead weight. She got exactly that. I got something better. A partnership with a woman who saw my value from the beginning and chose me without hesitation. We were both finally free, but only one of us had truly upgraded. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.